Let's talk about thermostats for baseboard heating. In this case, full line voltage, 240 volt, not low voltage that you would find in your forced air systems. When looking at these thermostats, you'll sometimes see black marks being transferred onto the wall as you see here. This is called ghosting. The reason it happens is that the dust and dirt in the air through convection passes through the back of the thermostat. These thermostats are resistors. They do get pretty hot internally, upwards to 105 Fahrenheit. Through convection and through that heat, it does transfer this black mark onto the wall. It does not mean that the thermostat is on fire or is a risk for it burning down the house. That said, this particular thermostat is well over 10 years old, and I'm going to be changing it out with a newer style thermostat. The thermostat I'll be changing it out for is the OBE TH104 Plus. And in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to remove the old thermostat and how to wire in and install the new one. Before we start any work, let's go to the main panel and shut off the breaker. Step one to removing the thermostat is to gain access to the mounting screws. We're going to open up the door, and here we will find the two mounting screws. Either a flat blade screwdriver or a Robertson square drive screwdriver can be used. I always prefer Robertson, and we'll go ahead and remove these two screws. With the two screws removed, we can now grab the thermostat and pull it away from the wall. And this will now give us access to the wires on the inside. Now, as you saw, we did turn off the main power in the breaker box. That said, we always still want to double check to make sure there's no line voltage currently at those wires. Once we've made sure there's no more power flowing to the thermostat, we could go ahead and remove our wire nuts or morettes to be able to disconnect the old thermostat. You're going to have two wires. We'll remove both the nuts, and this will allow us to remove the old thermostat. Let's take a look at what our new thermostat comes with. If we open up the packaging, we of course have the thermostat, instruction manual, as well as our mounting hardware, screws, and wire nuts. Now we're ready to wire up the new thermostat. Let's see how that works. A baseboard heater is a 240 volt two-leg system, meaning you have two wires coming in from your main panel, each supplying 120 volts. The thermostat only interrupts or resists one of the two legs, therefore 120 volt. So when we look at the wires on the back of the thermostat and our two wires coming out of our junction box, it doesn't matter which wire goes where. It's basically like a switch, on, off, but also resisting voltage to lower the amount of heat or increase the amount of heat needed. In order to wire these up, on the thermostat side, you have a stranded wire, meaning it's loose wires, and on the junction box side, a solid wire. When you have a stranded in your connection, you do not need to pre-twist the wires. All we have to do is take our wire nut, bring our two wires together, put our wire nut in place, and twist clockwise to bring the wires tightly together. And keep turning the wire nut until you can't turn it anymore. Don't overforce it, but as such. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. Bring this in, and with our wire nut, screw it into place. Now, an added assurance I always like to do on my wire connections is electrical tape. It's not needed by code, but it's a little ounce of prevention of those connections becoming loose. I take my electrical tape and I wrap it around the wire nut at the base of where the wires go in, and then bring the electrical tape onto the wires as well. This ensures that the wire nut can't come off. With our connections made, we can now gently place these wires back into the box pushing them towards the back, and bringing our thermostat into place, opening up the main door to give us access to where the hardware is going to pass through, the mounting screws. As you can see, you have different options of how you want to offset your panel. So in my case, you could see previously this was painted around, so we're going to want to put it in the same placement. So I'm going to be using these ones here. We will take our screws, pass them through. With our Robertson screwdriver, we will then locate them into the junction box. Just get one of them started to still give you some flexibility to move it around to locate the second screw. Pass it through and line it up with the hole in the back. Now you want to make sure all the wires in the back are nicely and neatly placed inside the electrical box, so you're not pinching them as you tighten the thermostat against the wall. With the mounting screws tightened and our thermostat now firmly in place, we could go ahead and remove the protective film. We're then going to go back to our main breaker panel and turn on the breaker for this device to ensure that it's working. I went ahead and turned the main breaker on, and we could see our unit is now powered. We would open up the front door, and here we have our series of buttons to change the time. Here's where we change the temperature, the different modes, whether it's through program, manual, or economy, and as well the buttons for changing the different programs or presets of when your heat would go on and off. That's how you remove an existing thermostat and install a new one. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching.